And welcome, everybody, to an exciting edition of the Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge, presented by Georgia Alabama Sports Live. I hope that you are enjoying the sports. It is Thursday night, and I've got a special guest. He is a host of a podcast called the Phillip Jordan Podcast. And I know that he's done a lot of other podcasts. It's been retooled. He's had a lot of great guests. Nobody covers the Wiregrass like Phillip Jordan. Back on the show once again. How you doing, Phillip?
Doing good. Richard, another week closer to more football is always a good thing, but I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. Well, I do want to talk about that exciting high school football game that you were a part of last Friday, Central and Dothan. It was just an incredible game, went down to the wire. Tied at 35. Central did pull it out. But what was your impression of that game as the Dothan Wolves taking on one of the best teams in the nation?
You know, it showed a lot of the mental strength of the Dothan Wolves because going down 14-0 early against a team like Central, it'd be very easy to, get down on yourself because, look, they kicked the ball to Central to start the game. Central goes 3 and out, punts the ball, but then Dothan fumbles the punt. Central scores, Dothan gets the ball, they fumble the ball, and then Central goes up 14-0. And you're like, oh no, this is going to be very bad. But then Dothan fights. I mean, Dothan had probably 400 yards rushing in the game over that against Central. When's the last time we've seen anybody rush for numbers like that against Central Phoenix City? Of course, that's led up by A.J. Alexander. There's other guys too is there as well for Dothan. Quarterback Sam Broadway makes some big throws as well. And man, just if there was like one more second, who knows what would have happened? I know on the coaches show this week with Jed Kennedy, he stated if Dothan had scored that touchdown, they were going for 2. So we weren't going to see overtime between the Wolves and the Red Devils. But man. And I think it does show where the improvement of the Dothan Wolves football program is at. A couple of years ago, they're not in that game. You know, last year they went to overtime with Auburn. And just a few weeks ago, 28-21 against Enterprise, which I know things didn't go Enterprise way against Auburn last week, but still tremendous there. Obviously, Central's got some great players, and they are the number 1 team in the state for a reason. I know, and Coach Kennedy always says that 7A Region 2 is like the SEC of 7A. There's 6 quality teams in this region, but only 4 gets to go to the playoffs. I mean, you got Central, you got Auburn, you got Enterprise, you've got Dothan, Opelika. Hey, Carver Montgomery is really good. That's a good team. That's who Dothan plays on Friday night. So it's there's no rest in this region for sure.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I actually consider this region like the group of death when it comes to World Cup soccer. And, Jag and Smith Station, Opelika. I mean, Opelika is a very good team. Jag and Smith Station are rebuilding. You can't take any of these teams lightly. I know that Dothan is 2-2, and I know that there's some must-win games that are on the horizon, especially the one you mentioned that is against Carver Montgomery this Friday. They made the jump to 7A. They've absorbed Sidley Lanier, which was also a playoff team in 6A. This Carver Montgomery team is very underrated. In fact, the latest rankings has got them second behind Central. I think that they could be a sleeper team in this region, and a lot of people just didn't think that Carver Montgomery would be that type of team. I mean, there's no Prattville anymore in this region. But what has been your impression so far as Dothan is getting ready to take on a very talented Carver Montgomery team? We always see that Carver Montgomery puts players at the next level. They always have a lot of talent, according to Rivals.com. But what is your impression of the game that's going to happen this Friday night down in Dothan?
It really is going to come down, I think, who dictates the style of game we're going to get. If it's more of a physical football game, I think that favors Dothan. I think Carver has a lot of great skill position players. And look, Carver has dominated everybody they played, but they haven't really played a really good team yet either. So we'll see what that means this Friday, tomorrow night. But for Dothan, if it's a grounded out football game where the running game is going to be like the focal point of it, it favors Dothan because Dothan's style of offense, teams don't practice against it. They don't see it until they play Dothan. And if you want to look at it, which you can look at this on both sides of it as well. But with Carver, they've never seen Dothan's offense. I mean, they've seen it on film, but they have not seen it in person. But at the same thing, Dothan has not played Carver. This coaching staff has not went up against their coaching staff. So there's some things they're unfamiliar with too as well. I mean, everything you can prepare for stuff. You can watch it on film all you want, but until you actually play it in person, that's what matters. So I guess it just depends on what style of game is played. If it's more of a track meet kind of style game, which I'm probably sure that's what Carver wants to play, that's going to favor Carver. But if Dothan can play their game, they can play the ball control, have the running game going like they want, and then hit a few play action passes or over the top with Jaden Barnes, with Sam Broadway, the quarterback at Dothan. That favors Dothan in that one. And, of course, the game is at Ripview Stadium. Yes, at Dothan's home field, so that's also an advantage. So that's kind of what I'm expecting. I expect Dothan to have a big performance, a bounce-back performance, because Dothan will be headed into the bye week too. And they know they got to have this one. I look at it this way, Richard. If Dothan wants to make the playoffs, they've got to win Friday night, beat Opelika, and then just take care of business against Smith Station and Jag. And, hey, let's see what happens against Auburn. I mean, you hung right in there with Central, so we'll see.
Yeah, anything can happen in this region. I'm excited. I know that you'll be back in the studio for 96.9 The Legend as Dothan is taking on Carver Montgomery. All right, Phillip, let's switch gears. Let's talk college football. Week 4 in college football. Now, Georgia and Alabama are both on a bye. They've got their showdown in 2 weeks down in Tuscaloosa. The Auburn Tigers is another team that you cover in the Wiregrass and on your podcast. They are 2-1, and a lot of Auburn fans feel that this is a disappointing 2-1 because they should have beat Cal. But I'll tell you what, Cal's 3-0. They're about to take on an 0-3 Florida State team, and I think if Cal wins that, they're going to put the entire ACC on notice. But Auburn made the switch to the quarterback, Hank Brown. And when you look at his stats compared to Peyton Thorne, it's like night and day. Quarterback rating. He's got 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, but that was some in garbage time against Alabama A&M, and he took on a New Mexico team that was winless. But you're going up against an Arkansas team that is dynamic offensively. Talon Green is now the quarterback. He takes over for KJ Jefferson, who's now at UCF. Sam Pittman's on the hot seat, but you got Bobby Petrino as the offensive coordinator. They almost beat Oklahoma State. And I know they played UAB close last week, but this Arkansas team is one play away from being 3-0. How does Auburn match up against Arkansas, and what do you expect Hank Brown to do, especially with the wide receiver, Keandre Lambert-Smith, the leading receiver, but Cam Coleman is questionable. So what is the scouting report for Auburn going into Saturday on the Plains against Arkansas?
I think we've seen, regardless who is the quarterback in the first 3 games, when Auburn is running the football, the offense runs better. You talked about that Cal game, and earlier today I was on another show in Arkansas, and I told them this: the play calling against Cal in that first half was horrible. I don't know, Hugh Freeze, whoever's calling the plays, who's ever involved with that, really messed up because Auburn came out of that game 3 for 3 passing touchdown. I get it. That, you continue what you're doing out of A&M. But Jarquez Hunter was a non-factor in the first half. Second half, he's running the ball better, but they couldn't protect. But then last week, we saw Jarquez Hunter had a big game, and the passing game worked. The key for this one is they've got to keep things manageable for Hank Brown because on paper, I believe Auburn is more talented than Arkansas. I full-heartedly believe that with the players they put around Hank Brown and obviously with Jarquez Hunter. But he's just going to have to take care of football. That's going to be the big thing. The offensive line is going to have to play well in this game. I don't see this being a blowout either way. Auburn's going to have to be smart. I think it's going to come down to turnovers. Who turns the ball over the most is going to lose. I mean, let's look back at Cal. How many times did Cal turn the ball over? 0. Auburn had 5 turnovers, and that's why they lost. That's the big thing with that one. And then just Hank Brown, and what I like about what he did last week is, look, a big complaint for Peyton Thorne is he waits for his wide receivers to get open before he throws the ball. Hank Brown was anticipating his wide receivers were getting open against New Mexico. That's a big difference, the timing of it. He didn't get sacked. He didn't hold on to the ball too long. Now, there were some iffy throws. Look, he's going to make mistakes. He's a redshirt freshman. But, Richard, I'm going to ask you this. If you're going to lose a football game, would you rather have your fifth-year quarterback throwing 4 interceptions or a redshirt freshman making mistakes and learning as he's going?
Oh, no question. The redshirt freshman. Because, look, I compared Peyton Thorne to Desmond Ritter.
And I know that. Did you mean that the Atlanta Falcons Desmond Ritter?
The Atlanta Falcons Desmond Ritter, who purposely costs you games. Peyton Thorne cost Auburn that game against Cal.
He did. Now, I'm going to say this, too. I'm going to defend Peyton Thorne a little bit, which I know Auburn fans are going to just love me for that. And that is this. Not everything in that game is on him. There was an interception early in the game over the middle. He hit Cam Coleman in the hands. Cam Coleman should have caught the ball. That was an interception for Cal. I mean, and then I'll say this, if for people that remember the other interception or one of them, there at the end when they were they were down 21-14, kind of in a no-huddle situation. It's obvious that Peyton Thorne couldn't tell that Cam Coleman was hurt. And when he threw the ball down the sideline to him, he just could not make the catch because he was hurt. He just could not give the full effort. Now, the other two, that's on Cam Coleman. I mean, that's on Peyton Thorne. But again, no, his indecisiveness hurts him. Now, I will say this, they're going to miss him not on the field is his running ability because Hank Brown is not the runner at all. He wants to sit in the pocket and throw the ball. And that's one thing I worry about if Arkansas kind of figures that out. If they have some kind of blitz packages to get after Hank, speed him up. Because the other thing about it, very few times against New Mexico did he get sped up into progressions and into throwing. If that happens, Auburn might be in some trouble. But yeah, I saw your post about comparing him to Desmond Ritter. I had to find out here on the Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge if that was the Atlanta Falcons one or the Cincinnati Bearcats Desmond Ritter. Because if it was the Cincinnati Bearcats Desmond Ritter, that'd be good for Auburn. But it wasn't.
Yeah. All right, Phillip. Week 4, I mean, we do have some pretty incredible matchups in the top 25, including on Friday night, Illinois, Nebraska. I love what Dylan Raiola has done. I don't know if you've seen my college football playoff projections. I had a little fun with my last projection. So every week I just randomly pick the 12 teams that I think they're going to make the college football playoff. It changes due to outcomes, like when Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois. I didn't even have Notre Dame in the college football playoff at all. Memphis beats Florida State. I got them in. I put Nebraska getting one of those spots because I love the play of Dylan Raiola having to play Illinois. They have not beaten a ranked team since 2017, and that's going to be a great matchup. USC, Michigan. I really love Miller Moss. I think that he has taken over for USC, and Michigan struggling. They made the change to quarterback to Sorgi. He's coming in place of Warren. They are struggling. You also got Oklahoma State and Utah. That's going to be going to decide probably the Big 12. And then the game that everybody wants to see, 7:30, Tennessee and Oklahoma. Josh Heupel goes back to Oklahoma where he was an OC, got fired in 2014. People are calling it a revenge game. But this Tennessee offense is so explosive. I'm wondering how Oklahoma's defense can stop Tennessee, but it is in Norman, and so it's going to be a big game, and I can't wait. But what ranked matchup are you looking forward to seeing this weekend?
Well, that Oklahoma Tennessee game is going to be interesting. I had a guy on my show this week too that covers Tennessee, and we kind of talked about that game too. You know, what's interesting about Oklahoma? Can you name their leading rusher without cheating?
Oh boy!
I know it's your show, and I'm asking you a question. I know it's like
you're really putting me on the spot.
Jackson Arnold, their quarterback, is their leading.
Yeah, see, I was going to go there.
That's not good. That is not good. And if you're Lamar Jackson's your quarterback, that's okay. But Jackson Arnold, not so much. Oklahoma's not going to be able to run the football. Their offensive line is not good. He's been sacked 9 times this year. And, you talked about the Tennessee. We talked about Nico, Dylan Sampson at running back. They've got the receivers. Offensive line's good. Tennessee's defensive front is criminally underrated. We all know James Pierce, but they've got other guys on that unit, and they're deep. Like, they go 2 or 3 deep on that defensive front. So I think Oklahoma's going to have trouble in this one. That Utah-Oklahoma State game is very interesting too as well. And honestly, you got to give the favor in the Big 12 now to Oklahoma State with, I believe Cam Rising's out. So, they're without him, I believe. I could be wrong on that, but I thought I saw somewhere where he's going to be out for the rest of the year. And if I'm right on that, and if I'm wrong, I'm sure your audience let me know. That you got to give Oklahoma State the favorite. I heard Reese Davis said, and I was listening to other shows, and I was talking about this. The Big 12 is not the deepest conference in college football, but it's the widest conference in college football. There's so many teams there that could win it. I thought Arizona was going to be really good with what they had, but I was kind of surprised by Kansas State blowing them out last Friday. But you talk about ranked games that I'm looking forward to. Honestly, that USC-Michigan game is intriguing because Michigan can't lose it. And USC if they continue and they win that one, that's big. I don't think Michigan's that good. I just don't. Their offense isn't good. They don't have any big playmakers. It's just they're going to struggle. I think USC is going to play extremely, extremely well in that one. It's kind of like a slow week. Not a lot of great games.
It is.
Of course, we're all excited about next week, though, with Alabama and Georgia. But those are some of the ones. I got one for you. It's not 2 ranked teams, but one of them, Clemson and NC State. We saw what Clemson did against App State. Now, NC State's not a great team, but still, that's a conference game. Are we going to – a lot of people, and I'm one of them, that really took Clemson to task after the way they played against Georgia. But if they blow out NC State and they continue what they're doing, it's them and Miami in the ACC then. And we'll see. And then Dabo Swinney prove us wrong and get to the playoffs. But I'm thinking we'll look back at some point at the end of the year, maybe look at that Clemson win and say that was a really great win for Georgia, the way they dominated Clemson.
Yeah, there's actually one game that I'm actually looking forward to seeing is Miami at South Florida. I think that the way South Florida played against Alabama in the first 3 quarters, I mean, they were physical. They were controlling the line of scrimmage. Of course, Alabama had 2 offensive tackles out of the game. But Golish as a play caller, as just, it's an offensive mind, I think that he can probably run some schemes. But if Miami blows out South Florida, Phillip, Cam Ward's winning the Heisman.
Yeah, he's a front runner right now. And over at Last Run College Football, we also we do a weekly update on our playoff rankings, and he's up there at the top. Just what he's able to do, and it looks so effortless. Uh, with the way he plays, So yeah, he's number one. But how does he do in a tough game? That's always what I'm wondering about with his quarterbacks. Because it was easy against Florida, which that's a whole nother conversation. And then they've played some easy teams since then. So when he gets into a really tough matchup, where it's in the fourth quarter and it's a tight game, and he has to make a play, then when the pressure's there, how does he do? Now you talk about a South Florida game. I have a friend of mine that covers the team. He was telling me today that they have added more seating for this game. Like they are expecting a big crowd in Tampa on Saturday for this game with Miami.
Yeah, because the Miami fans are going to make that trip up to Tampa.
Mm-hmm. And South Florida's got to be feeling good about themselves because of the way if South Florida had any semblance of a passing game, they would have beat Alabama.
That is incredible, and really the big game that we all want to see is next week, and we got plenty of time to preview that game.
Yeah, Auburn, Oklahoma. Everybody's excited about it. That's
that too.
I thought that's what you were talking about.
Now we got two really big games: Alabama, Georgia, and Auburn and Oklahoma. I mean, I think next week.
Or Troy having their Troy Trojans having their Sun Belt opener against Louisiana Monroe.
Yeah, well, hey, Louisiana Monroe's got to play the number one team in college football, Texas, which Arch Manning is starting. But it's going to be very interesting. I think that, with Ohio State having a bye, they're taking on Marshall.
Would they play somebody? I swear. Would they play somebody good so we can find out if Ohio State's any good?
Yeah. You know what? They'll have their test when they play Oregon.
Kick them Buckeyes out of the top 10 until they play somebody. That's all I got to say about that.
I do think, they are ranked a little bit high. Georgia had every right to come down in the rankings just because of that 1-point win over Kentucky. And honestly, I'm going to say this, Phillip. With Tate Ratledge out, he's not going to play against Alabama. There's a chance Mykel Williams might not play against Alabama. Alabama might win that game because they might push Georgia around. I think that when you lose your first round offensive tackle that's going to the NFL next year, I think it's going to be a big difference. And they are playing in Tuscaloosa, and I know that all the pressure is on Georgia to win because Kirby Smart only has that one win against Nick Saban, but he's not facing Nick Saban. He's facing Kalen DeBoer. But I've said on my show that I think that Alabama has not skipped a beat going from Nick Saban to Kalen DeBoer. I think that their offense is more explosive.
But you are correct on the explosive part. But can they actually put a long drive together when they need to? Is that what their offense is going to be? Is it going to be, okay, we're either going to go 3-and-out punt or we're going to have a 50-yard play, touchdown, a couple plays? I want to see a little bit more of be able to sustain a drive for Alabama, because against Georgia may be out. Georgia's still super talented defensively, regardless who's in and who's out. So Georgia's going to press them in ways that we haven't seen. Now, Ryan Williams is not going to be running loose in the secondary against Georgia's secondary. That's the one thing I want to see. And Kirby's going to be out to prove something, I think, in that game. He's going, with Nick Saban no longer coaching, he's going to tell people, I am the top dog in this conference and in the country. And people freaking out about Georgia, Kentucky. Georgia has a game like that every year. And honestly, about every other year, Kentucky gives them some trouble with their defense, as Kentucky just can't score touchdowns against Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, the last 3 times that Georgia played Kentucky and Lexington, they've scored less than 16 points, and it's been a one-score game. Phillip, one final thing before I get you out of here. You are a Green Bay Packers fan.
Yes.
Jordan Love is going to be out maybe another game. I know I've actually, when I did my NFL picks, I got them beating the Titans because I don't think the Titans are very good. I think that Green Bay is going to be able to weather the storm with Malik Willis. They're still a playoff team. Let's everybody relax. But what are you looking forward to as far as watching week 3 in the NFL and seeing your Green Bay Packers taking on the Tennessee Titans?
Well, I wouldn't rule out Jordan Love 100% quite yet because he did return to practice this week.
Oh, is he playing? Is this a source from the Phillip Jordan podcast?
I'm just going off stuff I've seen. People who know much more about it than I do, that Jordan Love, that he's not been ruled out, which they played this game last week too, but he wasn't practicing last week. He is practicing. Honestly, I would give it another week. Even if you think he could go to Sunday, I would just kind of wait another week because, look, Will Levis is going to find a way to lose the game anyways. We've seen that the last 2 weeks with some of the stuff he's done. It would be good drama, though, good storyline if Malik Willis guides the Green Bay Packers to a win over the Tennessee Titans, knowing that's the team that traded him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fact that the Titans got rid of him, they felt he wasn't good enough. But I tell you what, he's good enough to win a football game because you got Matt LaFleur's offense. You've got those offensive weapons. I mean, Josh Jacobs is an upgrade from Aaron Jones. I think that the Green Bay Packers are back. I was about to say the pack is back, but I'm not going to take that cliche.
Whoa. The Packers they're not back because they didn't go anywhere.
They didn't go anywhere. But no, I'm just saying once that Friday night game when Jordan Love got hurt, a lot of Packers fans thought that he was going to be out for like months at a time and that the season was over.
Oh, Packer fans weren't even talking about the loss of losing the game. It was what was going to happen with Jordan Love because – and, that game, too, now, I was watching it as I was in the studio also doing the Dothan game that night. Green Bay Packers got beat themselves. I mean, early on, 2 turnovers in the first quarter by the Eagles, and you score 6 points. Turn one of those into touchdowns, completely different deal. They had a field goal missed later on. They had to settle for a field goal. There was just, I don't know. And the Eagles, who knows, they're any good. They just lost to the Atlanta Falcons this past Monday night. But
that's another story.
I think I saw, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jalen Hurts he's 2-9 in his last 11 starts.
Nick Sirianni is on the hot seat for Philly. If they lose to the Saints, which the Saints are the most explosive offense in the first 2 weeks, which I do believe Clint Kubiak is going to get a head coaching job because look at what he's done with Derek Carr. Derek Carr is playing like an MVP. You got Alvin Kamara, who's just been an all-world running back, Rashid Shaheed, Chris Olave. Their offense is so explosive, and I would not be shocked if the Saints end up beating the Eagles on Sunday.
I wouldn't either. Yeah, that offense is clicking. And look, Kirk Cousins showed what you can do against that defense with a quarterback that's still not healthy. I mean, you can see Kirk Cousins that he's not 100% right. He changed up coordinators. Sirianni did after last year. You've got to think if this season starts going south for the Eagles, they may move on from him. Hey, and we've seen it. Look, how quick did they get rid of Doug Peterson after he won the Super Bowl? It was within 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
Maybe not that long.
Oh, yeah.
So the Eagles have shown if even after, going to a Super Bowl, obviously they didn't win it. They got beat by the Chiefs, but still playing for a championship, they're not afraid to pull the trigger if they feel like things are going south quickly. And I think we might be seeing that as well.
All right, Phil, before I get you out of here, tell my audience where they can follow you on social media and how they can listen to your podcast.
Oh, yeah, just follow me on social media at PJordanSEC. You can check out my written work over at Last Word on College Football. The Phillip Jordan Podcast is all over the place, Apple, Spotify, Wiregrass Daily News, or YouTube. And also every Monday morning, bright and early, a new episode of the Wiregrass High School Football Report featuring a conversation with a Wiregrass head football coach is available. So just check out, just follow me on X, PJordanSEC. You'll find all my stuff there.
There you go. Nobody covers the Wiregrass like Phillip Jordan. Thank you so much for joining the show, and love to get you back on at a later date.
Sure thing. Always happy to come on.
All right. That's it. That's our show. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.